In the Bible, all throughout the early Old Testament, we see this conflict between God's people and giants. That's right, you heard me correctly, giants. There's a story early in the Old Testament where God's people, the children of Israel, we'll refer to them as the kingdom of light, God's kingdom here on earth. They're in bondage in Egypt, and they're rescued, and they go to Canaan, which is the promised land. And in this story, over and over again, the kingdom of light, God's people, we see them going to war with nations around them. And these nations are in some cases led by, but in often cases empowered by in their militaries, giants. It's crazy. We see it over and over again. A later story is the story of David and Goliath. This happens in 1st and 2nd Samuel. You see the story of David. And in the story of David and Goliath, David, a young shepherd boy, goes face to face and head to head with Goliath, the champion of the Philistine army. We see giants all over in the Old Testament. And sometimes it makes me wonder, what in the world is going on with the giants? Why are they there? Where did they come from? What are they doing here? And there's a lot there. It's kind of a loaded subject, but there's one thing that we can see pretty clearly when we look at the giants. Wherever you see giants in the Old Testament, you are looking at the kingdom of darkness on the move. You see, God's people are the kingdom of light, but they have a very real enemy in the Old Testament stories. It's the kingdom of darkness. These nations that the giants were tethered to, in most cases, worshipped idols. They worshipped idols. And behind these idols were demonic powers and demonic influences. And I know this is pretty heavy stuff, but what it shows us is this, is that the opposition, the giants that we see in the Old Testament, it was the kingdom of darkness, the enemy of the kingdom of light, seeking to put a pause to destroy, and to stop the movement of what God wanted to do in the world in that time. Now, these stories might seem shrouded in antiquity. They're so old, they're so far away from us time-wise that it might feel like they have nothing to do with us, but we need to be very certain that the kingdom of darkness is still on the move today. The kingdom of darkness is still taking ground in our world today. And there are very real giants in our world today. Now, these giants, they don't look like big, hairy, scary guys with shields and swords. See, the kingdom of darkness has switched its method up a little bit. The giants of today happen at the heart level. Things like anxiety or depression, sin and addiction that have us so bound that we can never see the light of what it would look like to be free. In fact, some of these giants are so big at the heart level that many of us feel like maybe this is not a bad thing. Maybe this is just how life is, how it's supposed to be. There's giants in our culture. Gender confusion and sexual sin have long since become not something to be figured out or solved, but they've become, in some cases, our purpose. You see, the kingdom of darkness has switched its methods, and there are still giants in our world today. But instead of a military giant, these giants take place at the heart level. They try to take ground in the culture and in our media that we see just moving around the world we live in today. There's a very real kingdom of darkness at work. But there's also good news. There's also the kingdom of light. And in the Old Testament, what we see over and over again is wherever the kingdom of darkness seeks to take ground, the kingdom of light always has the upper hand. The kingdom of light can always come in and have victory through our King, Jesus. We're starting a series this month in Vine Students called How to Kill a Giant. This is going to be a 7-week series where we identify what are the giants at the heart level, what are the giants in our culture, what are the giants in media and the world around us today, and how can we combat them? How can we get out from under the tyranny of the giants and the kingdom of darkness and live in freedom, but also be agents of freedom in our world today? We're going to end this 7-week series with Freedom Night. It's going to happen on week 7, where we're going to have ministry time, extended worship, and just take some time to celebrate the freedom we have in Jesus. If you're a student, I would love to see you at Vine students over the next 7 weeks. And if you're a parent of a student, I want to encourage you to bring them, have them be a part, because this is going to be a very important conversation that we have. Listen, there is a kingdom of darkness. There is demonic powers at work in our world today. But we don't have to live in fear. We don't have to live under their tyranny or authority. We can have victory through Jesus, because there's also a kingdom of light on the move. So I hope you join us for how to kill a giant.